Now we're into James chapter 2, verse 8. Quote, "If ye fulfill the royal law, according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well." Unquote. Looking at this verse in the Young's Literal Translation, quote, "If indeed royal law ye complete, according to the writing, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well." Unquote. Now, we're going to look at this in the Greek and parse it out. If ye fulfill. Ye fulfill is in the present tense, active voice, indicative mood. It means it's being done now by you, and it's a fact. Ye fulfill. The royal. That is only used one time in the King James Version in the Greek. Law according to the scriptures. Thou shalt love. Let's take a look at that. This is done 14 times. In the Greek several times, and then in the Old Testament. But let's find out where James got this. Leviticus 19:18, quote, "Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord." Unquote. Again, Leviticus 19:34, quote, "But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto me as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." Unquote. And then Deuteronomy 6:5, quote, "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might." Unquote. Quote, Deuteronomy 11:1, quote, "Therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God, and keep his charge and his statutes and his judgment and his commandments always." Unquote. Now, Jesus, on the Sermon on the Mount, uses the same Greek phrase, quote, in Matthew 5:43, "Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor, and hate thy enemy." Unquote. And then Matthew 22, verse 37, Jesus said unto him, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind." Then further on in verse 39, quote, "And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." So this is very plain to see what he's talking about here in James. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Ye do. Let's parse out that. That is a present tense, active, indicative mood. So present tense is being done now. It's being done by you. And it's indicative. It's a fact. Ye do. Well, now let's look at John Gill's commentary on this verse. Quote, "If ye fulfill the law," unquote, "which is the law of love to men, without distinction of rich and poor, high and low, bond or free, and is so called because it is the law of the King of Kings. Hence the Syriac version renders it the law of God. It is the law of Christ, who is King of saints, and because it is a principal law, the chief laws, as love to God is the sum of the first and great commandment in the law, and may be called the King of laws. So love to the neighbor is the second and next unto it, and may very well bear the name of the Queen of laws, and so has royalty in it, and indeed this last is said to be the fulfilling of the law." Romans 13:8, written by Paul, quote, "Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law." Unquote. And it is also submitted to and obeyed by such who are made kings and priests to God, and that in a royal manner, with a princely spirit, willingly and with all readiness. The same word in the Hebrew language signifies princes and to be willing. The Jews frequently ascribe royalty to the law and often speak of the crown of the law. and they supposed the Israelites had crowns upon their heads when the law was given them on Mount Sinai, in which were engraved the name of God, in which they were stripped of when they made the golden calf. Now this royal law is fulfilled when it is regarded without respect of persons. According to the scripture in Leviticus 19:18, quote, "Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord," unquote. Quote, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," unquote, and which is to be understood of every nation without distinction of Jews and Gentiles, and of persons of every state and condition, rich and poor, without any difference, and when this law is so observed, it is commendable. Quote, "Ye do well," unquote, "that which is right, and which is a man's duty to do, this, when done from right principles and to a right end, is a good work, and is doing a good work well." End of John Gill's commentary on James chapter 2, verse 8. You're finished this here with discovering the scriptures. May God richly bless you.